Ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew. Yes, we already know that it's out there now. Jaron Boots Ennis signed with Eddie Hearn Matchroom Promotions. I think it's a great opportunity for Boots. Obviously, there wasn't a whole lot of options because when you look at the landscape of boxing promotion, there's only like a handful of major boxing promoters. And there's only just a few of them that actually have network deals to make appeals to potential boxers. Now, we know that Matchroom has an exclusive network deal with the streaming platform known as The Zone. And we also know that The Zone, with their platform, does a great job with providing content and disseminating content internationally. They're one of the few that will produce fights on their platform out of the country of America. And I think that right there adds to the list of reasons why I believe it's a good idea for Boots to be signed with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom because of the potential of making an international appeal to a larger audience. In other words, is Boots fighting on the Zone will give, let's just use the UK as an example. It'll give the UK audience an opportunity to learn more about Boots, see Boots in action. Not saying that they haven't already, but my point is the UK is extremely familiar with the Zone's platform. UK is a huge country that love boxing. All right, so I'm just using that as an example. And so having Boots on the platform of the Zone will expose him to a larger audience outside of America. So that's one major component to him being signed to Matchroom. Of course, we know that Eddie Hearn, obviously, is from the UK. So his contacts in the UK, okay, is heavy. And so because of the business dealings that Eddie Hearn does in his home country of the UK, he can allow Boots, to go to the UK, parade Boots around, allow Boots to get acclimated to the fan base and audience of the UK, familiarize himself with that audience so that when he does have fights with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and on the Zone, the audience in another country, can recognize him. All right. And they will buy into not just his story, but buy his fights. All right. I think another good reason for Boots to be signed with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom is because Eddie Hearn gonna cut the check. I mean, his history has proven that as a promoter. Eddie Hearn is a really good promoter. I think he does a good job, definitely in the UK. He understands the market there. But I also think that Eddie Hearn does a relatively well job in America. I think that obviously because of him competing with other promoters in America, he would be at the bottom of the list of good promoters in America because of the fact that he has less experience compared to those promoters here in America. Talking about the major ones, by the way. But that doesn't mean he's not a good promoter. He is a good promoter. And that's the second reason why I say it's a good fit and a good look for Boots. What do I always say? Good representation is priceless. And so Boots will have good representation. And I believe, number three, a good reason and a good look for this to be a good business relationship between Boots and his promotion company, and then, of course, with Eddie Hearn, is the fact that, when Boots want to gain more experience and knowledge and information and resources by building his own promotional company up, like he just started not too long ago, he have that in Eddie Hearn because this is a partnership, right? So he can gain that information, that knowledge, that experience, those resources, having those type of dialogues with Eddie Hearn from one promoter, Boots being young in the game of promotion, to a more experienced promoter than Eddie Hearn. All right. And I think that is actually a really, really good thing. Boots have put on just a few shows thus far with his own promotional company. Fighters that he's building up, extending that olive branch that I always speak of. So those three reasons are really, really good for Boots. And of course, another reason, I'm not saying there's only three, there's one more. It's probably about two or three more, but I'm just going to mention just four. So the next one is the fact that he has good representation in Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn can pick up the phone and make certain phone calls that prior to Boots being, signed to Eddie Hearn and his situation, certain phone calls couldn't be made. But now that his situation with his previous promoter, and obviously, that has subsided because his last promoter, Cameron Duncan, obviously now is deceased. Now he can move on with his career. Eddie Hearn can pick up the phone and make certain phone calls to get certain deals done. And I'll use Eddie words that he just said in the interview as of yesterday on The Zone, when he talked about Boots fighting this summer. He said the month of June, but basically this summer in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a hometown celebration to get Boots more active. And that's the whole thing. Eddie Hearn has the Rolodex to keep Boots active, to make contacts with other men and women of the business, to keep Boots active. It's all about activity. And like Eddie Hearn talked about, his goal is for Boots to eventually become undisputed as the 147 welterweight champion of the world. I've been telling y'all that Boots is going to take over the welterweight division for a long time now, and I'm still standing on that. And we can all be assured that because Boots have good representation in Eddie Hearn and all of the three or four things that I just mentioned, let me tell you something. We look forward to seeing Jaron Boots Ennis make his waves, make his bones in the division, and continue to excel. He's been doing a tremendous job. Now, there's one caveat to this, and I'm going to echo the same words Eddie Hearn just said in that same interview. It's going to be difficult because of what? He's that good. He's a switch hitter, and he's a special fighter. And with those three things being said, guess what? It can be very difficult to find Boots opponents. Notable, reputable opponents. But there is one opponent that I am advocating for Jaron Boots Ennis to pursue and fight. And that's the man in the division who holds the other 3 titles while he's still here in the division. And I'm talking about Terence Crawford. Now, if Terence don't want to fight Boots, no problem. Move up to the 154-pound division and vacate those titles, or just fight Boots for all the marbles. I'm not saying fight him tomorrow. That's unrealistic. But I'm just saying, if you still here, Terence Crawford, while Boots is still here and you still hold the titles, fight him. If not, move up, vacate it, and let the younger, hungry Lions in the division shine. And of course, we know Jaron Boots Ennis is going to take over the welterweight division. You know what? I'm doing way too much talking. Don't take my word for it. Roll the tape.